Hey guys, it's Marc Silber, and I am really stoked, which means in California talk, excited, comes from surfing, and I'm a surfer. I'm really stoked about advancing your photography. You know, this is a compilation of thousands of hours of interviews that I've done over the last 9 years, plus my own workshops and my own experience with photography, and I put it all together in this one handbook that you can carry around with you. Let's start here with chapter 1. This is an illustration of the whole cycle of photography, which is the steps you go through all the way through to make an image that you really love. At the heart of it is visualization because it drives every single component of this cycle. First, you get the idea that you want to take a photograph, then you pick up the equipment that you need or whatever equipment you have that you want to use for it. And then learning how to use that equipment based on what you visualized. So you might, for instance, change the depth of field with your camera, with your aperture settings. You might change the shutter speed. That's all part of your visualization. Capturing is really where you get into composition and lighting. And of course, that's a huge part of what you visualize. Then you go back into your digital darkroom and you process it. You might re-visualize it at this point. Like a lot of times I'm not necessarily thinking, before I get back into the darkroom, do I want this black and white or color? Sometimes I do ahead of time. But that's a new visualization. Then you decide how you want to share it. Do you want to get a really great print and frame it, put it on your wall, or put it in an exhibit? Or perhaps it's going to be in a magazine? Or perhaps it's just going to go up on social media. But let's talk about this central hub here, and the biggest part of the whole cycle, which is visualization. So we're going to jump over to chapter 2. Now, here's an illustration of me visualizing an image, and it's just to show you kind of what it's all about here. Using your hands helps because it kind of puts that frame there. And you get an idea of, in your mind's eye, of what you want to capture. Now, I love this quote here. It's written by Robert Collier, who is an author, not a photographer, but he says, visualize this thing that you want. See it, feel it, believe in it, make your mental blueprint, and begin to build. Boy, is that spot on. A mental blueprint. The term visualization goes way, way, way back, but it was actually first recorded in 1883, according to the Oxford American. Actually, this is the Oxford English Dictionary. And it is the action or fact of visualizing, the power or process of forming a mental picture or vision of something not actually present to sight. A picture thus formed. You are forming a mental picture that's going to guide the actual picture that you're taking with your camera. And that is actually the beginning of every great photograph, and we're going to talk about some examples of that. Let's jump over here. I do cover kind of a background of some of the great photographers and what they mean by visualization. It really helps to understand these concepts. But then I go right over to a modern photographer who you probably all have heard of, Chase Jarvis, who's also the CEO of Creative Live, the founder and CEO. And here's an actual interview. One of my very first videos that I did was with Chase, and I asked him what he meant by visualization.
First thing is I look at the scene without the camera. I walk around without the camera pressed to my face, because when you put the camera to your face, you see a lot less than you do just walking around. So I'm going to walk the area that I'm going to shoot without the camera to my face and look for interesting things. When I find things I'm going to shoot, or I can build a scene in my mind, then I'll start putting the pieces together. And that's kind of a visualization for me.
Now you can see he talked about don't even use your camera pressed to your face. Look around. Go walk around and kind of get an idea of what you want. And that really, really, really is good advice. One thing you can do when you're on a trip or you have an assignment is to make a shoot plan or a shot list. A shoot plan is basically, let's say you've got a certain area that you're going to be shooting. You know how you want to arrange the set, as we say. You might want to move some furniture around or change things around, again, according to your vision. A shot list is a list of shots you want to come back with. And I like to do that when I go travel. So for instance, here, the Eiffel Tower, I knew I wanted to come back with a photograph of the Eiffel Tower. The question is, how do you do it without it looking like a postcard that everybody else has already taken? And the answer is look for some unique angle or perspective, and that's why I captured it like this, and I did it as a black and white. How about spontaneously capturing something? Is that visualization as well? Well, Henri Cartier-Bresson, one of my favorite photographers, used this term called the decisive moment. You can Google him and you can see lots of examples of that. And that's being prepared for the shot. And again, you want to have it in your mind's eye, but you have to capture it at the exact split second to get that moment. Here's a couple of examples of my own. This was for a magazine, polo players. And I wanted this sort of geometric form here with their mallets, and that took getting them right at that moment when they were all together in a nicely formed arc here. And a second later, they're all kind of scattered around the field. This is another example of my friends jumping off a sand dune with the sun behind them, so it came out as a really great silhouette. But a second later, that neat arc was gone. So you have to be prepared, but that's again a part of visualization. Now, how do you strengthen those visualization muscles? Joey L., phenomenal photographer. Look at this. Is that incredible? How he learned is he went to museums and studied the masters, and that's something you'll hear over and over again. Bob Holmes also recommended that. Many photographers recommend this. And it doesn't mean just looking at masters of photography. Go and look at the painting masters. Vermeer, Rembrandt. Look at these guys. Look at their work. Look at how they captured light and how they used the frame. I give you in the book a whole little checklist to use when you go to museums. A book called Damn Good Advice, and it's written by George Lois, who is one of the most creative people I know. He did 92 covers for Esquire magazine, for instance, and he said, you must continuously feed the inner beast that sparks and inspires. I contend that the DNA of talent is stored within the great museums of the world. His recommendation, every Sunday he goes to the Metropolitan Museum in New York. You can go to your own local museum, whatever you've got there, get out. And don't just, I want to get you off the idea that you got to look at stuff just through your computer. We want to see that stuff in person. See it as close as you can. Take your notebook with you and note down how those artists use their various different techniques, how they use colors, how did they frame, what was their use of light. This is going to give you a mental catalog that you can then use in your own work. This is another way of using your hands, which is an L shape, two L's coming together. However you do it, it's, again, just training your eye to see. At the end of every chapter, I have what's called a crash course summary, which basically, if you are like on the move and you want this information fast, you could just jump in and read these things and have some ideas, then come back later for the meat and really get into the meat of what's in each chapter. And your goal with each image is to pass along to the viewer what you saw and you felt. This is what you're hoping to pass along, what you want to share, and that's what visualization is really all about. Okay, guys, please, will you do me a huge favor? You've gotten a lot of value from my videos over the years. Pre-order Advancing Your Photography on Amazon. It will be released soon, but by pre-ordering it, it's going to really help get the rank of this book up there on Amazon. And of course, that feeds to all the other book sites. It's really important, and I really hope you can do that. Not just because I want a better ranking, but I want you to have this book in your hands and to use it as soon as you possibly can. Okay, thanks for joining us. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already done that. Like us. Leave your comments, share this video, and remember to get out and capture your own images of life.